What's up, brothers? This is Only Joel Can Judge Me, and this is an Illuminate Invasion Super Helldive solo Deathless full map clear of the Civillian extract map. So I'll go over my weapon choices. I have the Reprimand, good for CC. Ultimatum, good for destroying the parked warp ships. Also good in a pinch against like heavies. Gas grenades, good for CC and covering your tracks when you're trying to run. My stratagems are Orbital Gas, again good for CC, good for destroying dropships or warp ships. MG Turret, good for CC. Tesla Tower, again good for CC. And WASP, good at killing fatties. The Illuminate Stingrays, auto sniping all overseers on, from around approximately 200 meters. One thing to know about the WASP and its main criticism is that it has no close quarter capability. And obviously you have to build in regards to that. Bringing the Reprimand and having this much CC allows me to have a nice CQC ability that complements the WASP. And that's what Helldivers is about. It's about finding builds, and not judging a weapon on its single capability, but how it performs in a kit. That's the name of the game. I'll give you my quick take. Arrowhead Studios produced a game called Magicka, and it's not exactly the same, but I feel like Magicka's influence is in this game, okay? Weapons are like the ingredients in a spell, okay? And each one is a component, in a system that produces a quote-unquote spell. So WASP is just an ingredient, okay? Put together with the other weapons and stratagems, it produces a competent kit, So when you judge a weapon on its own single capability, you're not doing yourself a favor in understanding how it works, okay? Each is a component of a spell, okay? So together they create something that's viable against the enemy. Separate, they're good, okay? And judging them separately isn't really relevant to like actual in-game performance. It is relevant, but it's only an indication. It's not exactly how a weapon is going to perform, because a weapon's only a piece, and I can't stress that enough. It's how things perform together, the synergy they have, and not how they perform alone in a vacuum. Judging a weapon, a stratagem, or anything in this game on just its stats is not going to help you understand its in-game performance. Something with like subpar stats, and I'm not saying WASP is subpar, but WASP has no capability short range. You're going to think, oh, it must be crap, but mid to long range, it's ridiculous. So all you have to do is build around that, build a kit that complements or fills in the weakness of the WASP, and you have a superior build. That being said, I didn't go over it, but as you can see, this kit just shredded the first dropship parked warp ship base in a matter of seconds. Because Ultimatum can take out 2, and then the Orbital Gas can take out the last final warp ship. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. One thing to know about Orbital Gas is the cooldown is really quick. Another thing to know about ultimatums is Illuminate maps, especially in the city areas, tend to have a lot of ammo on the ground. So people are going to say, oh, you only have 2 ultimatums. Yeah, but I can find a bunch of ammo on the floor, like I'm doing now. One thing to note about the WASP, I don't know if Arrowhead stealth changed something, but usually it's literally an auto sniper. And it's starting to miss a little bit. And in my first game, it didn't miss at all. There's the ammo, refill the ultimatum. You know, to forgive me, I'm doing a little bit of babysitting, so there's going to be some baby music in the background.
Sending down sentry.
Like I said, I like to drop that energy turret as a distraction sometimes, and that's exactly what we're doing. Okay, I'm going to drop the energy turret there, attract the attention of the Vaultful Sword, and then just go down this barren street, uninhibited.
Deploying equipment package.
Meanwhile, I'll take this opportunity to resupply and just go around these quiet streets. One thing I wanted to show with this game is just how effective this kid is. Just how effective WASP can be against the new Illuminates. There we see a fully loaded scrambler area, so we opt to drop the orbital gas and thin it out a little bit. We see reinforcement. For me, that's a great opportunity. It means I can get a bunch of enemies clustered in the area, and I can rotate to another objective.
Tagging map.
You only have a short window of when the Illuminate Watchers can reinforce again. So I like to stim run to my next objective. This biome in particular is really annoying because there are earthquakes here, and it makes you feel slow and clumsy. And they happen to hit at like the worst times. Fatty down. Again, WASP is an auto sniper, and I'm approaching these overseers from very far away. I think max range is about 200 meters. That's well outside the range of awareness an overseer can have, so you could just snipe them, and they won't react to you. Another thing to know about orbital gas is it has a demo force to destroy the research station.
Objective critical stratagem no longer available.
So people be like, "Oh, why'd you bring the orbital gas over like a 500?" Because its cooldown is low. It has incredible demo force. It destroys the park ships. It's just kind of a no-brainer. And when you pair that with ultimatum, it's enough capability to destroy bases without the 500, allowing you to carry something else. I opted for Tesla to give myself more CC, but that's a flex spot. As you see, this build, there's a variation where I can bring like an orbital rail cannon to handle harvesters. But I wanted to show something like a little different in this build, which is the same. It's just using another stratagem in the flex spot. There's me deftly jumping over an overseer's pugilist stick as he swings it. And this is an area I'm revisiting. Obviously, I softened it up with the orbital gas earlier.
Outpost destroyed.
As you can see, the ultimatum provided a quick response to the single warp ship. And I'm just moving at an insane clip right now. Map has been cleared out. It's only been about 10 minutes.
Helldiver, you are moving outside the mission area.
As you can see, the WASP easily handles the Illuminate Stingrays because of its auto-target capability.
You are leaving the mission area.
It only takes about 3 of those rockets. One thing to note is, I guess maybe it's not common knowledge yet, but the WASP isn't a weapon that auto-fires its entire salvo. You can tap fire it, so you can fire rocket by rocket, meaning that it's an auto-sniper to several overseers within your field of vision. You don't have to just waste like the entire salvo on a single overseer. You can fire a rocket per enemy, and it's a one-shot on the overseers. So if you have, say, 6 rockets, that's 6 dead overseers in a matter of seconds. This is relevant, like, if you see a patrol of, like, overseers and a fatty. It means you fire 4 rockets at the fatty, and then you fire the remaining 2 or 3 rockets at the overseers, and that entire group is dead. So what would have been a hugely lethal and problematic patrol melts. There's nothing much to say here, just me traversing this long, lonely Martian biome.
Squid outpost spotted. Sending down sentry.
Here's an example of why the turrets are good. So I'm placing the Tesla at one group of shaft and the MG turret at the other, and then we're rotating to the back of the base. I'm going to sneak in from the rear while all that shaft is preoccupied. So I end this match with not a crazy amount of kills, about just shy of 500. But that's 500 enemies that I have to engage. And I'm not engaging just to pad stats. So if you think of it that way, that's a decent amount of enemies engaged. And if you've watched my videos before, you understand that just because I engage an enemy doesn't mean I kill it. If it's not worth killing, I ignore it. You know, and that's within the objective that I'm fighting. There'll still be standing enemies running around trying to hit me. So I'm going to recap on this play because I think it's particularly important. There was 2 large groups of shaft. I fired the Tesla off in one area and kept them occupied on that side and the MG turret on the other. And that way I didn't have to fight them. I got to sneak around the back of this base and basically attack it with little to no engagement. There's something to be said about that too, because a lot of people play this game like your typical first-person shooter. And one of the things that I always approached it as differently is that this was not like your typical first-person shooter. I noticed I was dying a whole lot. I had limited weapons. I had limited ammo. In the beginning, I had shitty weapons. And, you know, my enemies were way more powerful. So then I understood that this is not so much a first-person shooter as it was like some sort of asymmetrical tactical game, you know, played in the first person. You know, almost like it was born out of some weird isometric top-down gameplay model. You know, maybe I'm wrong. But with that in mind, I always approach this like a strategy game. And not just a first-person shooter where I'm Doom guy and I can kill everything because I'm super strong. I mean, I don't know the intent of the developers. I just know what I felt was an influence on how they wanted me to play. You know, and I ran with it. So I ran with the fact that in my head, it's like a joke, okay? Because you look like a Spartan, right? But you play like just like a random guy with no superior capability whatsoever. You don't have super weapons, you don't have crazy abilities, you have limited abilities and limited weapons. You know, within a reasonable frame. You're actually underpowered for what you're fighting. That's how I saw it. You were more like a regular soldier and less like a super soldier.
Sending down equipment package.
You have access to powerful weapons. I'm not saying that you were like a total schmuck and you had no capability whatsoever. You have access to powerful stratagems. But you aren't Doom Guy. You're not him.
Last reload.
You know, so in that regard, there's a lot of sneaking, there's a lot of subterfuge, there's a lot of distracting, there's a lot of sabotage, there's a lot of whack-a-mole play, there's a lot of ambushes, you know, because I'm playing like I'm much weaker than my enemy, because that's how it was in the beginning. Still that way now, especially as I'm watching the player response to even the Illuminate invasion. If you go and you try to walk them down, you're going to have a bad time. Prime example was the play you just saw at the parked warpship base. There's a huge group of enemies, and we opted to distract them in one area, go around the back of the base, and dismantle it from a point of non-contact. We brought everybody's attention to one side and killed a lot of them, and just unfettered took the base from the back.
Found something.
There's my MG turret doing exactly what I said. It's distracting this harvester from killing me,
Sub-objective in your
who
vicinity.
may have trained on me and one-shot me with his stupid laser beam. But instead he's staring at the MG turret, making enough noise for me to escape.
Available. Fire in the hole.
Fatty Blob, can't get good targeting on him with my WASP because of the fences. So we're just going to stank him up.
Stratagem no longer available.
See if the Thief does this, and it does not. See if the Thief kills him. There's the one shot on the harvest on the overseer. There's a decent lock. As you can see, I don't really struggle with reinforcements, because that's one of the things the WASP is extremely good at. Quickly addressed in dispatch the Illuminate Stingray. And right now I have my eye on the Watcher, who's down. Snipe before you can call reinforcements. Again, auto snipe. If you've been following, I have not had to deal with reinforcements once.
Objective critical stratagem no longer available.
You can do this with other weapons, but they require manual targeting. For me, with the WASP, it's a point-and-click adventure. Again, it doesn't come without its negatives. It has no close quarters capability and no immediate burst response. So you have to build accordingly. But the beauty is, if you build right, you have a great quote-unquote spell. You're going to be able to walk what's being seen as an extremely hard enemy for the player base right now.
Tagging map.
Another thing I'll notice, it feels like I'm not running into enemies, right? It's not that I'm not running into them. I end up killing 500 enemies. It's that I'm moving so fast that I'm not giving them a chance to overrun me. Just gonna pick these fatties off from well over 100 meters. I guess this is me heading to the evacuate site and clearing it out before I actually enter it. You can do what you want. I like to, circle the perimeter and take out what I can from the outside and then enter. Again, dispatch the watcher before it even knows I exist. And then I'm able to snipe these guys well over 100 meters. Those are overseers in the distance. And a fatty. This gives me enough time to throw a Tesla down and give them something to play with. That's the one thing about this game is it never has been like a power fantasy. I mean, it's always been some sort of like strategy game where you have to figure out plays, instead of outright just killing everything. And if you want to do that, that's cool. But the appeal of this game to me is that it's been a strategy game.
Freedom forever.
It's been a tactical game. And on both Squid and Botfront, it is. It's an incredibly tactical experience. It's probably one of the best games I've ever played in that regard.
Deploying sentry.
I'm not really a fan of Bugs. Bugs is more of like a power fantasy horde shooter. And it can be tactical. But it's hard to make that game as fun as these two fronts. That Bug game. I mean, I do Bug Souls regularly. But I think they have to do a little bit of balancing over there on their hardest, what they think is hard, and how they make it hard. Because I feel often for them it's just jack spawn rate and speed and overwhelm the player on that front. Over here, there's many different ways to make it hard, and they're doing it, and they're doing it successfully. On the bot front, same way. It's tactically hard, and that's fun. Again, watchers show up, watchers go down. Because the WASP is easy at controlling reinforcements. It's probably one of the best. If you just have good situational awareness, you're really not going to get enemies to reinforce on you. This is one of those times where it's like I didn't realize that there were 4 or 5 Crescent Overseers coming from that direction. Again, look at how easily that Stingray was dispatched. And there's the MG turret shredding the Overseers. That's this one guy giving me problems. Again, there's the Overseer, right, cut down by the MG turret. And if you've been paying attention, there hasn't been a single reinforcement successfully conducted. And that's why the game is so smooth, because that's being handled. Before it gets out of hand, before reinforcements can be called, a combination of things are stopping the Watchers from calling them. And that's where you're going to run into your major problems, when you don't control the reinforcement response. When the game is being fair. So sometimes this game's spawn rates are jacked, and they'll just have units pouring in nonstop at a ridiculous clip that doesn't make sense. But luckily that's not the case. The one thing this game shows is that if the spawn rates are normal and they're not spawning crazy enemies at a rate that doesn't make sense, and that's not usually the case on the Illuminate front, but sometimes when they introduce special units, like the new units on the invasion front of Illuminate, I feel like sometimes they'll tweak the spawn rate a little bit, and sometimes they go a little too high. I didn't play the first game, but I know people that did. And from what they tell me, it was about controlling the reinforcements. You know, that's how you would have a smooth game. And the one thing that this game in particular will show is how effective the WASP is at stopping the Watchers from calling more units. And how smooth your game goes if you control that. And that's some food for thought, okay? What other weapon has this level of Watcher control? You know? And if you come up with no other weapon, you know, because it's an auto sniper that can snipe the Watcher from 200, can one-shot the Watcher from 200 meters away, then it is arguably the best weapon to use on the Illuminate front. If the main issue is reinforced units, and this is for every front, but we're talking about Illuminate in particular, if the main issue is controlling a Watcher's ability to call more units and give you problems, then what weapon does that better? You know, really think about that. If you have a weapon that dominates that, you know, auto snipes without aiming from a distance that the Watcher doesn't even detect you, you literally have the best weapon to approach Illuminate. Obviously, it can't handle units up close, so that's why it's not the only weapon you have. You build accordingly. You build to compensate for the WASP's deficit. And if you can build like that, you have a complete kit with an exceptional ability to make sure you don't have to deal with a sudden flood of units. I think this was one of the times that, for some reason, the WASP didn't kill the Watcher. But you know what? I'm done. So by the time that happened, I'm out of the area.
Sending down sentry.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing. So now I have some time before a Watcher can call more units, and now the engine has populated that area with all its units. There's a limited amount of enemies that can be on screen at one time.
Injury? What injury?
Not on screen, but in the map at one time. So for me, I like to make a mess wherever I go. I like to leave a bunch of units because I believe, like, if I created 50 units in one area, if I created 30 units in another, if I created 20 units in one area, and all those areas are behind me, that I'm going to have less enemies in front of me.
Throwing grenade!
Obviously, it's not a linear path, but that's what I mean. I put them in places that I'm not planning to go to. So I'm going to go ahead and say, like, I didn't have a single enemy reinforcement problem. Not one. And I hope that shows watchers how good the WASP is.
Sending down equipment package.
You could argue at the end, units were called in on the final objective, but that was after I cleared it, so I don't really care.
Say hello to democracy!
This is where things get dicey. Because I have to stay at extract. So, as you can see, there's just a flood of shambling units closing in on the area. Look at how many shaft show up. Nobody was called here. This is me almost dying. And pre-stimming, like, with like a psychic Spider-Man ability, knowing that I'm going to get tagged by the laser. Anyway, one thing to note, okay, as somebody from Team Nomads was asking, there's something going on with the spawn rates, because those aren't reinforced units. Those are standing units that just kind of made their way. It's a huge voteless horde, a harvester. There's watchers, and you can't see them, but there's also fatties at extract right now. A watcher didn't call those units in. Okay, so none of those are from reinforcements. Those are just units shambling into the area that I'm trying to be in. And that's one of the, it's not an issue, but it's one of the things that I've noticed on these Illuminate invasion games. You'll have a lot of like units patrols just coming in and flooding you instead of being the product of reinforcements.
Sending down sentry.
Bye-bye. Can I see the watcher? Watch it down. Is the harvester just walking back towards me for some reason without line of sight? And then there's some voteless horde that wasn't, I'm not saying that they weren't there, but maybe they were over like a small mountain. I didn't see them, but they're just over there suddenly. So I'm beset on both sides. There's a Crescent Overseers to my right. There's a voteless horde and a watcher to my left. Fatties are streaming in. Somebody must have told them there was free food, which would be me. Free Helldivers. Again, I want to point out that not a single watcher has reinforced. They haven't called in units. These are just units making their way towards me.
Deploying equipment package.
I'm using all my CC control right now.
5 minutes remaining.
Those gas grenades should kill that mob. Again, we're trying to address the Watchers. And then, yeah, it somehow doesn't kill, the WASP doesn't kill the that Watcher over there after having 4 or 5 rockets fired at it. This is when things get messy. There's me sliding down a hill, and I have no agency at that point. I can't. That's why that fatty catches up to me, because I can't move. I'm just sliding down the dune. As you can see, it's just non-stop Watchers. They're really pushing the call units in. And I think eventually they do. But, I mean, it's been 40 minutes of stopping them from calling units in. And again, I'm going to ask, what weapon does that better?
How'd you like to taste of freedom?
If you take anything away from this game, understand that it went smoothly because the Watchers were never able to call units in. And understand that that should probably be your goal. Is controlling breaches, reinforcements, and warp-ins on all fronts. If you do that effectively, you stop the enemy's ability to respond. Not necessarily stop it, but impede it in a way, you know, that your game's going to go way easier. I don't know if you're following, but the game's trying to not let me extract. Again, not a single unit has been called in. These are just units following me, being killed, and then just more and more units are spawning in. I think I hear a Watcher's finally able to get a reinforcement in at 2 minutes left in the game. And that's because it happened off screen, like I wasn't looking in that direction. After running around in circles trying to extract, had all the units shambling in. Nothing beats a good pre-stem right before you're about to get rocked. And look at that reinforcement too. Like it warped in multiple harvesters. So now there's 3 harvesters on extract. The one time it reinforces it, it's a huge reinforcement. That's one thing I like to ask. So there's 3 harvesters in extract. There was like 6 or 7 fatties, multiple overseers, huge groups of chaff. I want to say 6 or 7 or 8, maybe close to 10 Watchers. All at extract right now.
Dropping a pin.
You know, being dispatched, but just repeatedly repopulating. I mean, you count them. Maybe there's more than Watchers, 10 Watchers, because there's 2 more right now. And that's within the span of maybe 10 minutes. Okay, so they just called a reinforcement in. You saw that like less than 60 seconds ago. And now they called in another one.
Super destroyer leaving low orbit. Emergency extraction shuttle deployed.
I'm sure, this can be explained, but
Tagging map.
in my head, it's Joel being sweaty.
ETA T-minus 2 minutes 30 seconds.
So this is my first attempt at despawning, because at this point I'm like, this is stupid. 2 reinforcements, too close to each other, way too many units. It's just dumb for me to stay there and try to extract.
ETA T-minus 2 minutes.
See, I would still take this level of resistance. It's still more fair to me than like the bug front. What the bug front offers.
ETA T-minus 1 minute 30 seconds.
Throwing grenade.
I think that's another reinforcement. So, I mean, maybe somebody can explain this to me, but it's like every chance they get, they call more reinforcements. I didn't even see him. I didn't even see a watcher call in the unit. I just see the warp ships.
ETA T-minus 30 seconds. ETA T-minus 20 seconds.
Injury. What injury?
I think it's one less reinforcement time than I thought, because I think maybe what I heard off screen was an actual reinforcement. I think it was just the watcher firing
Pelican 1 approaching.
his electric bolt, even though he wasn't near me. I mean, it could be that.
This is Pelican 1 preparing for touchdown. Countdown.
Anyway, this was a great game. It was fun. It was productive.
Extraction.
Showed a lot of subterfuge, a lot of distraction plays, and more importantly, it showed how to control the watchers and why, in my opinion, this is the best weapon. So to recap, this game was about watcher control and reinforcement control. And it shows that if you do that effectively, you literally rip through the game. It also shows you arguably the best weapon to do that, which is the WASP. And for me, video proof is super important. I'm not big on debating back and forth. If you can show me in video an example of why you're right, I'll take that over like a paragraph of talk. I mean, that's the standard of proof in most cases. Being able to debate or argue is great, but physical proof is king. One thing that providing a video shows is that there's an actual real world example that exists to prove a point. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. I enjoyed making it, and I'll see you at the next one. Later.
perfect day to defend freedom.
You tell him, girl.